Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the Art of Triumph podcast. How are you going, Mum?
Yeah, good. Really good.
That's good.
Good this week, yes. I'm much better than I was last week. My back's getting there. I'm not 100% still, but I am much better. Thank
Much
you for
better
asking.
on the mend. That's
Yes,
what we like
definitely.
to hear, Mum.
Yes.
What we like to hear.
I'm getting there. So how are you? How was your week?
I'm good. I'm good. I mean, as good as I can be at the moment, obviously in the times. If people don't know, if people are listening outside of Victoria, we've just been put back into what we're. Oh, actually, no, we've not been put back in. We've
never been
in
there.
the first time. We're now in stage 4 lockdowns. It's pretty intense. There's a curfew. You're not allowed outside of your house from 8 o'clock until 5 o'clock overnight, unless obviously for work. You're only allowed to travel within 5 k's of your home.
Yeah, and once a day.
You're only allowed to go outside and exercise once a day for an hour.
Yeah.
You can travel outside of the 5 k's if you're for work and for health reasons as well.
But then you have to have a permit to be able to do that.
Oh, it's proper. It's like proper lockdown. We thought stage 3 was a lockdown and was restricted, but all retail, like majority of retail is closed now.
Yeah, they're closed today.
It's weird. I mean, I haven't been out there because obviously we shouldn't.
I mean, there's not much point though, is there really? Even to go out.
I've seen the pictures. I've seen it on the news.
Yeah.
Of Melbourne CBD just empty.
Ghost town. Mm.
Like that would be crazy to walk to walk through. But yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with.
It is a lot to deal with. And to be honest, I really found the one thing that really hit me was the curfew bit. That was like, and I don't go out at night.
No, neither
so
do I.
It shouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh, I actually can't. Do you know what? I wanted to go and stand in my road at 8:10 the first night.
You should take your,
too scared.
Yeah, you should take your bins out at 8:10, see what happens.
No, I'd be too scared.
But that's what's happening at the moment. 6 more weeks. Hopefully this can eradicate, or not eradicate, or at least get our numbers below.
Oh, we need to get it under control, don't we? Here,
get it below 3 figures would be nice, but
we'll see how we go.
Yeah,
it's going to be a long road, I think, because
Certainly
so
is.
many people now are fed up and over it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just got to keep doing the right thing.
It was announced on, and this was so great. It was announced on Sunday that we were going to go to another 6 weeks of lockdown, and I thought it started from Sunday, but I was watching the news yesterday, and it was Melbourne starts its next 6 weeks, and I'm like, oh my god, I thought I was 3 days in. Turns out I was 0 days in. So that was fun to deal with.
Well, you had a bit of practice.
Yeah. But anyway, we're here. We're recording the podcast again. I was about to say season 14, episode 14.
Well, let's hope that when we do actually eventually get to our 100, that we are able to be together.
I'm assuming we will be. Because if we do, 85 more weeks. Yeah. But anyway, let's jump straight into it. Last week, obviously, we had episode 13. We had our first special guest, Samantha. We chatted about changing up our strategy. That was a lovely chat with Samantha. This week, we have yet another special guest.
And
let's just jump into it. Let's introduce our second special guest, Mr. James Trudgett. How are you going?
G'day guys, good, how are you?
Just wonderful.
Yeah,
just
good.
wonderful.
So we went from my youngest to now to my eldest.
You know,
That is me, Mum.
Yeah.
the two boys, having a great time. So, James, you're obviously my older brother, your mother's eldest son. Why don't you...
The important one.
Yeah, a bit rude. Okay.
No, I'll be nice.
Why don't we start off with you? Why don't we introduce us about yourself? Tell us a little bit. Who is James Trudgett? Go now. Quick.
Jesus, put me on the spot. Hi, guys.
It's not really putting you on the spot. You did know
Not
about
really,
this.
I know. I was kidding, of course.
And I'm sure you do know about yourself.
Of course I do. No, I'm a bit nervous, so bear with me.
If it
Anyway,
makes you
I'm
feel
James.
any better,
G'day,
we've
guys.
probably got about 4 listeners, so it's fine.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know.
just
There's
pretend
more
no
than
one's
that,
there.
don't worry. You've added me to that list since about 3-4 weeks ago. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, hi guys, James here. Said mum's eldest, first baby. I got 2 babies of my own. Got two kids. I got Romeo and Adriana. Adriana's 4, Romeo's 1.
And they are gorgeous.
Adriana's about 4, going on about 20 at the moment, especially during lockdown. She owns the joint.
Yeah.
Married to my beautiful wife Eloise, who we all obviously know well.
We do.
For me, I'm an airline pilot. I work for a well-known Australian airline. Well, I did. I still do technically, but who knows what's going on there at the moment.
So you've
Seems to
been
be
stood
getting
down
worse.
from them, yeah?
I've been stood down since March, and at that point I thought, a couple of months off will be all right.
Yeah, I
Go
think that's
back
what
and-
we all thought.
Obviously, we're still there, still
Yeah.
not going back. And it's during what's going on this week at the moment. It's I don't have any idea when it's going to happen again.
No, I feel you on that one.
I'm sure we'll talk about that a bit later on. I live around the corner from mum and dad, within 5 kilometres, obviously. Lead,
Thank
but
God.
it's a bit annoying being that close together though, because you can see literally your house from our back window,
Yeah.
and you can't really go around and drop the kids
No.
off and have some time to yourself. So
No.
anyway, yeah.
Well,
What else
happy.
do you want to know about me?
It's a bit, I mean, talking about that point there, is like you guys live literally within 5Ks. How do you guys feel about the whole how I word this? Romantic lovers. Is it romantic love or romantic?
No,
lovers?
Intimate partner.
Intimate partners.
What did I say? Romantic lovers.
Might as well say sex F buddies, don't you?
Yeah. So intimate partners can
Yeah.
visit each other.
Yes, they can.
Even if it's
and they can,
not within the 5Ks. So how is that
Yeah.
in terms of...
I think it's obviously difficult to police, isn't it? Because so someone's on Tinder, they're going to go see an intimate partner. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
I know they can't police so many of these rules that they've brought in. Like, how can you know someone?
No, but you also can't really restrict people that have been together for a long time that just happen to not live together.
Like Samantha, for instance, her and Cooper, her partner, been together a couple of years, and obviously I knew that Cooper had stayed at his house since these new restrictions came in, but they're okay to see each other. I think what he nailed it on the head yesterday in the press conference, Dan Andrews, where he said when you're at each other's houses that everything applies to you. You can't go more than 5Ks from that house, which was good because obviously, I'm on the way to the girlfriend's house. I'm just going to pop via this shop that I really want to, which is nowhere near either of our houses, but I'm on the way. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
No.
So he sort of nailed it on the head there, which was good.
But talking of that sort of thing, had that issue. I went to the physio yesterday. Excuse me, for my back, and I was talking to my lovely lady there. She lives more than 5 kilometres away from where she works, but every lunchtime she goes for a walk around the local lake.
Oh, breaking
she's like-
rules.
Yeah, so she's like, I can't do that now.
No.
No,
Even
technically
so-
you can't.
No, so her hour of exercise that she was getting every day, she now can't do because she works more than 5 kilometres away from her house.
Yeah. It's a lot of rules. It's a lot of sometimes, I mean, I can understand that some people might find them complicated and...
Yeah, but I guess you've got to
confusing.
just do it across the board, haven't you?
you do.
You know,
do.
and yeah, it sucks for some people and it doesn't fit in with others, but it's got to be a one
it's our
rule
own
fits
fault.
all.
I'm not saying it's our fault, but there's obviously certain people, and they've addressed it in the press conferences the last couple of weeks, where people aren't doing the right thing. There was obviously that incident in Frankston on the first night, which I think is absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah.
But
What
can you do? There's always going to be a minority, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's always going to be someone
yeah.
who smokes on an aeroplane when they're not meant to. There's always going to be something like that. So
Yeah.
As long as we can get the majority of people to do the right thing, then a lot less time.
I just think it's disgraceful the amount of people that are not at home when they're being door knocked, when they know that they're positive.
800 people.
That's where these restrictions have come in. Like, obviously, the day after that, they announced that you can't exercise if you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Positive, which obviously people were saying I was out exercising.
But Queensland managed to do it. They were door knocking last night, and 98% of people were home. And Victoria, we were like, how many? 65% of people were home. Yeah. That's disgraceful.
They did 3,000 door knocks, and 800 people weren't home, and that's I mean, you think about 800 people, and then you think about our number, which is just above 1. All those 800 people infect 1, maybe 2 people. That's where it gets away from us, and we can't. Yeah, we can't fix it.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, let's chat about this week's topic. This week's topic is perseverance.
Yes.
We sort of hinted at this. Well, we didn't hint it. We actually said it last episode. We're going to be chatting about perseverance, whether that's in career, life, anything in general. We're going to be chatting about how important perseverance is and how to, Yeah, so
when we thought about doing this, James was the one that jumped to mind.
Definitely the one that jumped to mind, because
I don't know why.
I'll say from my point of view, James, is from as long as I've known you, which is 25 years. Admittedly, 2 or 3 of those years I don't remember. All I've known is you wanted to become an airline pilot.
That's true. Yeah.
So we thought of you in that as because your perseverance and all that jazz. So, James, talk us through your relationship with perseverance throughout your journey through your career as an airline pilot.
I've had a good think about this, and I reckon there's going to be a few things I'm going to say that's going to surprise you quite a lot.
We love surprises.
Yeah, good.
So, anyhow, as you said, Brad, I've always wanted to do it, and there's that whole question you get asked in a pilot interview of, so why do you want to fly? And the whole cheesy question is, I've always wanted to do it. I've never wanted to do anything else. I've always had to try and dodge away from that, because that is genuinely why I wanted to be an airline pilot. I wanted to do it ever since day dot. And the first memory I remember is going in a cockpit on an Emirates jet when we were flying from... We were very lucky as kids, obviously, having Nan and Pop live everywhere, literally, that we would... fly regularly to see them at Christmas time or summer holidays, whatever it might be. And I think it was the most exciting part of my year, to be honest. But yeah, I've always wanted to do it. There's always been that dedication. It even comes to the point of like choosing my subjects in school when I was doing year 11 GCSEs back in the UK. I was like, I've got to do maths, I've got to do physics. And they were the 2 things I had to do. So even though you don't need them to be an airline pilot, it was always in my head that...
You don't need maths to be an airline pilot.
Of course you don't. There's no requirements to get it.
Surely obviously, you need to know how to add up.
The airline I worked for, it was a requirement back in the day that you had to do it, but I didn't know that at the time. I had no idea that we'd live in Australia when I was 11 years old. 16 years old.
I mean, this was something we spoke about last week, Brad, when we said, at that age, 15, 16, having to choose what you want to do and how difficult that is for so many people.
It is.
So for you, James, you were really lucky in the fact that you already knew what you wanted to do. So
because some of the decisions I made were so easy, because there was never, I don't know what, it was when we went to these parent-teacher interviews or these days of what school do you want to go to, what subjects you want to study. It was always based around me being a pilot.
Yeah.
Like everyone knew it. I never hid away from it. It would just change so many decisions I used to have. Were based around me wanting to do that when I grew up. To the point where people would offer me a cigarette when I was 14 years old, and I'm like, no, I can't. I want to be an airline pilot. I'm like,
what's that?
There's no common sense there, but it's just in my head at the time. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I
mean, when somebody offered me a cigarette when I was younger, I would just say, no.
I didn't say that to him. Obviously, didn't go, no, sorry, mate, I want to be an airline pilot. I would get knocked out.
I want to fly.
But, it's just that was in my head. That was the way I thought. Obviously, that made me then join the Air Cadets back in the UK when I was a kid, when I was probably 14. That's when I did my first ever flying. I got a scholarship to go and learn to fly an aeroplane by myself when I was 15 years old. 15, 16 years old, which was
I remember.
extremely lucky. Because I went there every Saturday. I think every Saturday went up there, and for about 10 weeks did some flying, and then eventually did one circuit by myself, which is obviously take off, turn back around, and land on the same runway. That was
How
awesome.
did that feel?
Oh, it was insane.
At such a young age.
I remember it to this day. When we just went. It was with a new instructor. I hadn't flown with this instructor before. He jumped in the jet like this. James was going to see how we're going, and I did everything in the sequence, flying for about an hour. As we landed, as we taxi off the runway, he made a radio call to the ground guys that are there, and he just asked the question: has this guy done everything he needs to do? And they just answered yes. And then he jumped out the airplane and off I went. Obviously, he was checking to make sure I'd filled all the syllabus, and he felt I was good enough. And I think that I wasn't expecting it, so I was like, as soon as he said off you go, and he jumped out, I'm like Jesus, I'm 15 years old. I was literally 15, 16 years old at the time, and
so you weren't old enough to drive.
I wasn't. I'd never driven a plane, never driven a plane, never driven a car. It was a crazy feel, and that was an awesome feeling, And anyway, that was the first taste I got, and then obviously past that, nothing else I could really do. Finished school, did all my GCSEs and all that sort of stuff, and then moved into we're going to Australia, which obviously I'm sure you've probably talked about it before, that I wasn't all on the ball at the time.
We did a whole episode on it, James.
There we go.
We did, yeah.
Goes to show you haven't listened to it.
I have listened to it. Just saying that, like, I wasn't all on the ball, and I was a bit stupid and naive, and I've persevered a lot to not go to Australia in the first place.
You did actually. Yeah.
We obviously at that point we then started talking about, all right, what do we want to do? And there was a flying school that was in New Zealand, and it was a UK based school, and we went to the interviews of that, and that was stupidly hard. The hardest thing I ever did by that point in my life. All the maths and psychometric tests and all that sort of stuff on the day. It was pretty full on, and managed to get that, which was ecstatic. You probably remember it, Mum, where
that was awesome. Absolutely.
I got
awesome
the call. I think
I
was driving back from because it was down south near Nan and Grampy's house, and drove back. On the way back, I stopped off at I got the email on my phone, and obviously being a good citizen, I didn't decide to look at my phone. Pulled over at the next service station on the motorway and back home, and back in England. I shouldn't say back home, should I really? Read the email, and I got the place, and I was like, off my head, crazy, awesome. And then about 2 days later, we found out you needed a fair amount of money to start this course. And at that point, obviously, Australia was on the cards with Dad's work, and the only way we could get the money was to obviously go through and put some money on the house or whatever. So it couldn't happen. And so it then got taken away from me, which was hard because, you're 17 years old and you've just been given the ticket to what you want to do, and then you lose it, and it sucks. Gut-wrenching, isn't it? But I wouldn't be where I am today without that. So anyway,
but I guess that's just a realisation then that there are other pathways.
Yeah, of course there are.
Doing to get where you want to be.
I think
it's.
I think for me at the time, it was the reason I got upset about it was because I didn't see myself moving to Australia at that time. I didn't see myself doing it, so it was like that was my last option of doing it in England.
Yes,
and it didn't happen. So that's what I got a bit upset about. But anyway,
was there any moment or sort of any point that you sort of doubted, especially after that moment where that thing was taken away with you? Was there any moment where you sort of doubted the dream per se and sort of almost gave up? Yeah.
Right then, where the hell am I gonna get £80,000 from?
Yeah.
Where the hell is that gonna happen? Of course, absolutely 100%. I didn't give up on it. I still wanted to do it, but I started to look down that avenue of, all right, if it's not going to happen now, what am I going to do? Anyway, long story short, we obviously moved to Australia. I realised my foolish 18-year-old self, 19-year-old self was a bit silly, and decided to come down here and give it a crack. And then one day, out of the blue, Pop says, do you want to do it still? And I was like, fuck yeah, of course I do. And he said, I'll loan you the money if you want. Found a flying school. This was back in 2012. January 2012. We went and found a flying school. The week later, I started, and by the end of that year, I was a fully qualified instructor and started teaching at the same school.
Awesome.
So, yeah, you don't give up on it. And what I did then is it was a full-time course, 5 days a week, but I was there 7 days a week, 6 days a week. I just wanted to get it done. I don't want to. I'm not someone that just sits around and goes, "Oh yeah, I'll let someone else tell me how to do it. I'll do it myself." And got through that year, which was pretty full on. Obviously, complete change of life, pretty much.
So everything that you did was always a stepping stone to your ultimate goal, which was to be an airline pilot.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, I learned a lot when I first got there. I thought, "Oh, sweet, learn to fly, then go flying for an airline a week after I finished training." Nah, you're an idiot, James. It's not that way at all.
I thought that.
Yeah, I think everyone did. And even my repayments to my financer was based on that. So we had to make a big change there. But yeah, so anyway, I worked at the flying school for 3 years, and then I met my wife in that time, Eloise, because obviously her mum was the receptionist, and this very nice looking girl walked through the door to have lunch with her mum. I was like to the instructor, "Who's that?" "It's Barb's daughter." I'm like, Jesus. Anyway, so there you go. Look where that's turned into story.
So how
6 years down the track.
How long after? Because it was Moorabbin Flying School, yeah. Yeah. How long after there did you start the process of airline?
Airline.
I don't know. James yelled at me before we started recording that I said the name of the airline. I don't know if I can anymore.
It's a well-known Australian airline with a big red tail and a white kangaroo on it. Let's put it that way.
Okay, cool. How long after MFS was?
So I was at MFS for about.
Mentioned that as well.
I was about MFS for about 3 years. Obviously, you're building your way up. Obviously, through that, you get into different licenses of an instructor, so you can send people off on their first flight. You can do assessments for people, teach them on twin-engine airplanes, all that sort of stuff. You're always growing. But it got to about 2 years down there, and I'd done all that, and then it was very flat for me. I was doing the same thing every day. Yeah, there was different promotions, like managing different courses and stuff, but you just got to a point where you're waiting for that next step. And in Australia, nothing was happening. No airlines were hiring. So there wasn't that second step. Even got to the point where I looked at moving to Cathay, which is obviously a Hong Kong-based airline. I looked at that. I applied for that just to try and get into the airline business. But that didn't happen. And then Qantas Link, which is obviously a regional airline for Australia, they've been hiring for a little while, not too long. A few of my mates had gone in who were instructors with me. They've been a bit more senior, been at the company a few years longer than me. They went to the interviews. They didn't get in, unfortunately. So I was like, I've got no hope. But I thought, screw it. I've got the hours. I might as well give it a crack. If not, airline interviews are obviously notoriously known for being quite difficult. They put you through not put you through the ringer, but they test you quite a lot because obviously you've got the responsibility of this thing.
I'd like to think
big jet.
I'd like to think that they really test you.
Not just any old person.
So I thought, I'll go give it a go. It'd be a good experience for that. Which sort of took the pressure off me a little bit because I was like, I'm not going to get it. I'm just going to go and see how I go. Anyway, I went for the interview and found out I was not got the job as such. I was put on what's called the hold file. So it's like they have a pool of pilots where they take from them when they need them rather than they hire it for that month. You know what I mean? Got on the hold file and was waiting to hear back from them for about 8 months. Which was then even harder because I'm at this flying school, knowing that I've potentially got a job at this regional airline, which is a massive step, and I'm like, just hurry up, nothing's happening. I'm telling Eloise, yep, it's going to be great, it's going to be awesome when we get there, blah, blah, blah. And this time we obviously had our daughter, Adriana, during this period, which is obviously a whole new change of life completely. Mm-hmm. But you probably spoke to me talking about perseverance from an airline career point of view. This is what I said at the beginning. I find it what I do. I love what I do, my job. I absolutely love it. So I don't find it that hard.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's everything else, managing life around it. To make that career work, because it's a very demanding career, is the hardest bit, which we'll talk about. I'll probably talk about it a bit later anyway. But I had obviously our daughter in that time, and during that period is when Qantas Airlines opened up there. Obviously, something happened in Australia overnight where airlines started hiring left, right, and centre. So Qantas opened up. I thought, sweet, I've got the hours for it. I want to apply for that, because obviously it's been another year since I applied for QLink, so I'd obviously been building experience at the flying school. Applied for Qantas thinking, nah, no hope. No way am I going to get this. I went to the interview. They're all blooming 15, 20 years older than me. Some of the ex-RAF pilots. People have been flying for regional airlines already. Like the people that I was going to go work for were there.
Yeah.
So I thought, nah, no hope. No hope. And then I was put in the sticky situation of where Qantas and QLink called me in the same week telling me I had a job at QLink to start, and I had my interview at Qantas, and I couldn't say no to the other one, so I went to both, and it was a mess. But long story short, we moved up to Brisbane with QLink, and after a week of being there, I found out that I got the job at Qantas, and I was again the same thing, hold file at Qantas. I was like, perfect, which obviously made our life real, because me and Eloise and Adriana had to move up to Brisbane with QLink. Made that a little bit easier, but obviously that was extremely difficult on Eloise. Like if you're talking about perseverance, you probably want to talk to her about that, to be honest. When I went to QLink, I went to Sydney by myself for 4 months, doing training in Sydney, and then I moved to Brisbane for a month by myself before Eloise came up. So she had 5 months by herself in Melbourne with her. I think Adriana was only just over 1. She was maybe 1. She lived with you, Mum, obviously, in that time.
Yep.
She and then moved up to Brisbane to be completely away from her family, and her family's obviously real tight knit. Obviously, her mum and dad were really upset that we were coming. They were leaving, but it was. She did it.
But you knew that it wasn't going to be long term.
Yeah, you knew it wasn't going to be long time, of course. But then, obviously, very difficult going up to Brisbane, because I didn't know what the job was going to be at QLink. So that was real tough, managing family, lifestyle, working, all that sort of stuff was real difficult. But we got through that. As I said, we always knew we were going to move back to Melbourne in a year's time to go to Qantas, which we did back in 2019. Is I think when we moved back to Melbourne end of 2019. No, 2018. 2018. Sorry.
Yeah.
And again, I then was now an international airline pilot. So I've made it to where I want to be, and I know it sounds stupid, but I don't feel I tried that hard. Because
what a great place to be.
Because it's weird, because I love what I do. I actually I get excited when I have to study for something. Like I love learning a new aeroplane. I'm intrigued by it. I'm interested by it, and I don't find it. So
it doesn't feel like work.
Of course, it is difficult, but it doesn't feel like work. I'm learning. Yeah. I'm doing something I'm enjoying.
The amount of people that would love to have that in their life.
Since lockdown, that's happened to me.
Keeping you up, Brad?
Sorry, I yawned.
Oh, my God, am I boring?
No.
There you go, guys.
No.
Thank you for joining my episode of The Art of Trying. I'll see you later.
Yeah, Brad's asleep.
Brilliant.
I wanted to ask, how did it feel? Like, what were you feeling, knowing that you're persevering? Because it was hard work. You say that you feel as though you didn't try or whatnot. I'm assuming it was hard work.
Of course it was. Of course, I'm not taking that away. Look at me, I'm so amazing. I'm not saying that.
How did it feel?
It was amazing, Brad.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. The day I walked through those doors in Mascot of Sydney, starting work at Qantas, meeting all the chief part, meeting all the people there that you see on TV doing all these presses all the time. It was amazing. And it was sort of like, sweet, I'm not going to do another interview for the rest of my life. I've not got to worry about this. Look where I am. I'm in the airline. I was 20. How old am I now? Am I 28? I'm 28.
Yeah,
I was 26 when I joined, and I was like, this is where I thought when I was that kid back in the UK, like when I wanted to be in it. But again, I wasn't flying yet. The day that I felt like, wow, it was my first flight on the 787 for Qantas. We were going to Hong Kong. I'm lining up on the runway, and I'm like, I know I'm not flying because I was a second officer, so I was sat behind the two pilots. I was like the guy who obviously they do the flying and the landing and taking off, but as a second officer, I sit in the seat when we're in the cruise and.
Are you there in case something goes wrong?
Not even just like the relief pilot.
You're there to look after the plane whilst they don't want to.
Yeah, while they're asleep, I'm there to jump in a seat when they're having a
seriously,
effectively.
Right.
But it was insane. It was insane, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. Look where I am. I'm getting paid just to do something I love. You know.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
It was insane. But then obviously that year was very difficult. Eloise was pregnant with Romeo at this point. We had Adrian, who was 2.5, and we then found out how difficult life can be being an airline pilot, because you're going away for 6-7 days at a time. Obviously I went back to the UK at that point to work, and I was away for 10 days nearly sometimes. And Ellie being at home with 2 young kids. I went to England when Romeo was 6 days old. Yeah. I went to work.
Tough.
That was real tough. Yeah, look, great. We've got loads of family around to help. But that's the bit I find difficult, managing family life and doing. Yeah. I've still got to study. You know, I can't just being a pilot. You're in the simulator every 6 months. You're doing emergency procedure training every year, which is like cabin crew stuff. You know, like we have to know that stuff, how to operate the doors.
How was it when obviously juggling family life, work? How is that now? How are you sort of dealing with that now at this time where you've been stepped down from work in your?
It was. I remember. I obviously moved to domestic operations the month before COVID-19 hit, and that was absolutely the smartest move I made.
I was going to say probably one of the most important decisions you made without being able to force it forward.
So obviously I moved from international back to domestic. It was a promotion for myself. Obviously I know a lot of people see international as like the dogs, the best thing, but it was a promotion to go back to domestic because I was actually flying the airplane. I was in the window seat, as we say.
So you went from second officer to first officer?
Yeah. So I did that. I bidded for that to obviously move to there, and I actually wasn't meant to start training on the 737 until April this year, but they moved it forward to November. So I'm not even. That's even lucky, because if I hadn't have done that, I would have still been. When COVID hit, I would have still been an international pilot, and all my friends that I know on the fleet at the moment, they're not going back to work for nearly 2 years. Easy. So I'm extremely lucky in that concept that I am on domestic. So, and all the figures and data is telling the airline that as soon as this is sort of under control, it's all going to take off again. I was meant to go back to work in August. But obviously the second wave in Melbourne hit. But I still remember when I was back in, it would have been February. I remember talking to a captain about this because we were looking at our iPads. I think when we were grabbing a coffee before we went flying, and the news popped up. Obviously, virus outbreak in Wuhan, right back in the beginning, obviously. And he said, don't worry about it. It'll just be maybe like SARS, where we all go down a minimum guarantee hours for a few months. Obviously, our minimum hours that we can do, and it'll be fine. And then look at us. I've been off work for 5 months now. And I honestly don't think I'm going to go back this year. I really don't think that. I know there's no Melbourne flying this month for any Melbourne pilots. Because I don't want to sit here and go, I feel sorry for us, but I do reckon the aviation industry across the world is probably the worst impacted industry in this whole thing. Without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
No one's going anywhere. Borders are closed everywhere.
If you look at your life now, then, so you got stood down. So, but you're working. Yeah.
So I was in hindsight. I was sort of lucky as well in that case. Everything's lucky for me. I think people probably
you seem to land on your feet.
Yeah, I do land on my feet, don't I? So I was in Adelaide on an overnight, and obviously I can't leave the hotel room because it was quarantine at that point in Adelaide if you were from interstate. So we flew into Adelaide on a night trip, and I think this was my last day of flying, my last couple of days of flying before I got stood down for the first time. And I've been talking to Eloise about, all right, what are we going to do? Am I just going to take some time off, or we think it might last a couple of months? Let's say, can we manage without a job for a couple of months? And I was like, I've got annual leave I'm going to take during that time. to cover our, obviously, income, to make sure we're okay. We can still pay rent and keep Adriana fed because she eats us out of house and home. She eats about 40 bananas a day, I reckon. Could be worse things, obviously, but she's insane.
Oh, I don't know. I reckon Eloise thinks that's pretty awful.
No, Ellie hates her. I'm the one that cleans all that up. But I was just looking, so I was starting to think, what jobs are available? Because obviously, then all the news came out about unemployment. Obviously, I knew Brad had been stood down from his job, and he was obviously looking for a job as well. And there was all this unemployment that's going to be in the air. So
I wasn't stood down.
Sorry, your contract ended. My bad.
I was sacked.
No, your contract ended, Brad.
Yes, I suppose, but it felt like I was sacked.
And so I started to look around for a job, and Linfox popped up. Obviously, the transport company in Melbourne, the national really. And Ellie's got a good friend that's a manager there. So I just sent her a message and said, "Are you guys hiring? Because I can see you advertising, but I don't know if you are at this time. Obviously, I'm just seeing if there's something I can do part time in the meantime while I'm off work." She called me back 5 minutes later and said, "Do you want to start next week?"
Must be nice.
Can you go and see the guy tomorrow? to get yourself started? I'm like, Jesus, all right.
So you didn't even have any time off?
No, I didn't have any time off. I finished work on the Saturday at Qantas. I started at this place on Monday.
Bastards didn't even hire me.
But I didn't have, because obviously Linfox do all the transport for Woolworths, all their fresh fruit and veg, all the produce that goes into the stores. So it was their busiest time they've had ever.
Yeah, crazy busy. Yeah.
And so we got into there, and I got straight into that, and I'm still there doing that now. Been a crazy couple of weeks there. And this is when we talk about perseverance. This is where I've really had to persevere this last 5 or 6 months, because I'm having to do a job. It's a good job. I'm so grateful that I'm in work. There's so many people out there I understand that are way worse off than me. But I was in this position where I loved what I do. I get excited. I got excited to go to work, to the point where Eloise would literally see me and be like, "You're going to work tomorrow, aren't you?" I'm, yeah. Because my attitude changes. I'm going to work tomorrow. I'm excited to go to work because I love what I do. To a point now where I'm going to work to feed my family.
Yeah.
And it's crap.
But that's what the majority of people do.
Of course it is. That's what I said. I'm not trying to make it like I'm amazing, blah blah blah. But of course they are. But
no, but it's not. But it's good for you to be able to see that flip side, to see that side now that's what. Of
course it is.
Everybody, a lot of people do day in, day out. It's. Of course it is. What's the saying? You work to live to work.
Yeah.
And you've just flipped that on its
completely,
head.
And I'm doing something that, as I said, I'm just paying to keep food on the table, roof over the head. And obviously what's been difficult as well is that the last few years being a pilot and that sort of stuff, we've gone through difficult times, like when I was obviously teaching people at the school, to then going to QantasLink, moving to Brisbane, to now being international, being away from the family. I've always found myself telling Ellie, my wife, that it's going to get better. It's going to be awesome when I get to this point. And I got to that point of Qantas domestic. I was home most nights. It was fantastic. And then it gets taken away from you.
Yeah.
I hope I've answered your question, Brad. Perseverance. I feel like I waffled on for ages.
I think you answered it at some point in there. So
yeah.
Just quickly, Mum.
We'll find it.
Let's chat about your relationship with perseverance.
Mine? Yeah. I guess I've got a few more years on both of you. So, and I think probably the one thing that comes to mind with perseverance is probably coming to Australia. That's the one thing, we got knocked back. But realised that we had, like I said, had to change stuff up, which was what we were talking about last week, which is why I then went and did a degree to persevere to get here, and then that didn't work. So then it was, okay, so what are we going to do now? And you just, it's keeping that light alive, isn't it? And just realising that there's different ways of getting what you want.
Yeah. And I suppose in that aspect there, you were not only persevering through, the whole process of getting to Australia, but you were persevering whilst you were here as well. Because obviously you had a couple of sons that were a bit
that were a bit,
We were silly, weren't we, Brad?
And
a couple of head up arse moments.
And obviously there was the time where Dad was here for what, I don't know how many months. And you were dealing with the move on your own.
He was here for a good 6 months.
So,
with the move was done, by myself. With obviously we'd spoken about before with the help of my parents, but you didn't help.
No, I didn't.
I've already said the day before that we left, you went and bought a bloody bathroom cabinet.
Yeah, I'm an idiot, aren't I?
I mean, I don't call that helping.
So obviously you've dealt with perseverance quite a bit.
Yeah, so and I guess that's just what you do through life, isn't it? You just have to keep going. And if something means that much to you, you will just keep going and keep persevering to achieve it. And I guess that's what makes us who we are, I suppose. And I like to think that whenever I've done something, and like I say to you, James, don't look back on those times and feel bad, because it's made you who you are.
Oh, of course it is. Of course it has.
And yes, there's aspects of it where you go, oh, I was a shit and I probably shouldn't have done that. But you know what? It's done and you can't change it. So don't beat yourself up about it, and appreciate that, that's you're where you are now because of all those things that have gone previously. But I perseverance, I know do you find, Brad, though, sometimes with perseverance that it's difficult to recognize that you need to keep persevering?
I just think it's difficult in general, to be honest, and this is just from my point of view.
I mean, when I look at the two of you, for instance, right, you both have chosen very I don't want to say difficult careers, but unusual maybe, in the fact that not everybody some people think about being a pilot, James, but it's like a pipe dream, and it doesn't always necessarily happen. You, Bradley, originally wanted to be a stand-up comic.
All right, let's not mention that. I'm not funny.
No, but that's what originally you wanted to do, right? And I remember a friend of mine in the UK said to me once and asked me about what you two want to do, and I mentioned, a pilot and either an actor / comedian, and the response I got was, yeah, but what are they actually going to do? And I was like, what do you mean, what are they actually going to do? Those are things, and and they're like, yeah, but they're not, proper jobs. And I'm like, I would never tell my kids that they can't aspire to something.
Yeah.
If you've got that dream, then bloody persevere and go for it, is what I say. But I think your particular career, Brad, is probably way harder
than mine.
Than James. James has got a path, that's, and yes, it's difficult. Money becomes an issue, clearly, James. Yeah. But that can be overcome, but not for everybody. And I appreciate that. There are probably people out there that would love to do what you, and could persevere and be as good as you at it, but don't have the means to be able to do it. For you, Brad, there's no one written path. So how do you persevere with that? That did you, because you've got to get yourself up every day, and you've got to get yourself in that. I don't know how you do that. With
great difficulty. I sort of say that I'm in the point right now in sort of in my path where I'm at the moment of going, all right, I need to keep going with this. I need to mentally keep at this. I need to persevere in this moment, because this is sort of the moment here where I go, all right, is it just a dream? Do I give up on it and try and follow something else, or do I stick with it? Do
you think that's a lot to do with your age as well, where you are in
definitely. It definitely is. It's to do with my age. It's to do with I'm comparing myself to everybody else. which do you know what? I always say to people, don't compare yourself. Don't compare yourself. What do?
Yeah, you do it all the time.
I compare myself to everybody.
You've just got to look at it from where you are, Brad. Like, obviously, you're getting married in, it would have been 6 months, but
would have been
pushed back, obviously, and I'm very sorry to hear that. I was very excited to be your best man and make a ripper of a speech. But I at least want to.
Will be, won't you?
I just want a crowd there, so obviously we're not going to do it. Anyway, moving on. Obviously, you're in that point where, you're getting married soon. You've got a a partner that obviously she's probably going to want kids in the future, and you got to start thinking about that, haven't you?
Exactly.
You don't need to compare yourself to everyone else. You just got to start thinking, where are you, and what do I need to do? You know?
Yeah,
What do you need to do?
Especially in times like these that we're in, where there's fucking nothing going on in the arts at all.
No.
There's no theatre. There's no film, especially here in Victoria. So it's.
But at least you then came out and you go, all right, what am I going to do? I'm going to make 100 episodes of podcast.
Exactly. So it's sort of
something.
persevering with that sort of stuff, and just keep going and keep going and keep going until something works.
Because obviously you're adding this to your portfolio. You always bring up, right?
Yeah, gotta love
Exactly.
portfolio.
So you've got to. You're doing well, mate. Don't worry.
So you just got to persevere.
But there's nothing wrong with you wanting to change direction either.
No, not at all. Like we spoke about last week, Mum. Changing direction is not saying that you're stopping your effort or you're not persevering. It's just you're recognizing that something isn't working.
Yeah. And sometimes you can't. Your road ends with something without having what you might class as the success that you thought it was supposed to be. You know, it's it's tough to know when your road is finished.
It is. So
I think everyone as well at the moment. We all got through this first lockdown and it was like, oh yeah, cool, sweet. But this time it's going to be so much harder, you know, for most people. And obviously Ellie,
it is.
The wife, she's out there probably right now looking after the two kids while I'm just sitting here talking to you guys, having a couple of beers. But she's going through it, you know, and as everyone out there is, you know, everywhere. Ellie's managed to teach Adriana how to draw a few letters of the alphabet.
Yeah, she sent him to me this morning. Yeah, she's doing well.
Doing really well. She's up to N or something like that, and she's doing fantastic. And
that's fantastic.
She's obviously, as there are many people around there that have just got to survive at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just sort of just keep going. You will get through this. I mean, this section of life, but just keep going in general. I'd say, if there's any advice, keep going, persevere. Don't give up on yourself.
Don't you, Bradley, either.
I'm not.
Good. Just making sure, just clarifying that.
Okay, well that's perseverance. It's important, and it's important in mental health as well. I just thought I'd add that in there, especially these days with the lockdown. It's affecting a lot of people. Just keep going, keep pushing through. Talk to someone if you need to. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you okay?
Yeah. So that's perseverance. Yeah. That's episode 14, everyone. We'll do a quick small business shout out because I realise we are going over time. Now you two have a small business shout out. We'll only do 2 this week.
I do.
So not that I was lazy and didn't think of one, but we'll run out of small businesses if we keep doing 3 a week. So, Mum, you go. Who's your small business?
All right, my shout out this week is to a lovely lady that I contacted last week. I saw my granddaughter through the window last week, and she wanted a face mask, right? And I said that I would keep my eye out for a children's face mask, and there's nothing wrong with them wearing them if they want to wear them. I think go ahead. They don't have.
Adriana got upset.
They don't have to
have one.
It's very responsible.
And I think that's fine. So anyway, I was browsing through Facebook and I saw this lady that was doing children's face masks, and I thought, I'll give her a quick message, and she answered me instantly, sent me through some pictures of some fabric that she had, and she had this new fabric in, which was beautiful. And I said, I'll take 2. And she said, yep, give me 45 minutes. And I was like,
45 minutes?
That's pretty fast bloody service. McDonald's takes longer sometimes.
Isn't it? 45 minutes. And I was like, wow, I was expecting you to say, come in a couple of days or whatever. So she lives by Heritage Springs in Pakenham, down there. And so I went round an hour or so later after my car accident, but we'll skip over.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, not my fault. It's fine. It's not my fault. Anyway, lovely lady called Stacey, and she's on Facebook, and she has a Facebook business page called Stacks of Masks, and she's also on Instagram as well. So we'll put that up there. Stacks of masks.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does face masks, and she does matching headbands and things as well. But absolutely, when I picked it up, it was just beautiful. Nice little bag, and it had a little sticker on it, and a little thank you card in there as well. And yeah, really lovely lady, and so beautifully made.
There's so many. I've been following a lot on Instagram recently. There's so many cool little mask things that people are doing. It's fantastic.
Oh, we're gonna have them. They're gonna be around for ages, aren't they?
Yeah.
They are
for a long time.
I think they're here to stay for a long time. So yeah, we'll put her up, and she was lovely, really lovely lady.
James, small business shout out.
Mine follows in true fashion of me. Mine's the Bad Shepherd Brewing Company. It's just a small local craft beer brewery up in Cheltenham. They've got a really nice little pub there. Obviously, they're probably closing at the moment, so shout out to them. Hopefully they're doing all right. But they do online orders for all their craft beers, and they've got a special this week that. This week only, men order $20 and you're free delivery, which is great because normally it's like $75 you get free delivery on most things.
Free delivery anywhere?
Metro Melbourne. So we will cover it. So I reckon we get on that, Bradley. I reckon we get on that.
Ooh,
that's really good. $20 and free delivery.
Yeah, so
that's very good.
They do some great. They've got a peanut butter porter. They've got loads of good things.
Peanut butter porter.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm not a fan of porter. I am a fan of peanut butter, though.
Well, give it a go, Bradley. You can buy singles as well. That's the great thing about it. You can buy a load of different singles.
I was just about to say, can I buy a single and then they deliver it?
You can buy a load of different singles.
Well, for $20, yeah, Brad, you don't have to buy a keg.
But nah, so anyway, back in the day when obviously they had a good little brew pub with good food and some
Bad Shepherd Brewing
beers
Company.
Bad Shepherd
Brewing Company.
That's the one, Mum.
We'll stick them up. Stick them up on the socials. Well, that was small business shout out.
Good.
Cool. All right. Well, that's episode 14.
14.
Thank you, James, for joining us. It was
pleasure.
Thanks,
pleasure,
James.
I hope I didn't make myself look like an idiot and talk for too long. But
no, it should be. I mean, we are. I think we're.
Oh, it's all right. Usually... Brad can cut you out. Don't
worry. Probably would.
If I need to cut it down, I'll cut it down. But we're not. We're no longer than.
Just don't cut the bit out where you yawned. All right.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Thank you very much for listening to episode 14. We appreciate it. We appreciate all our audience members.
Thank you, Eloise, for looking after the kids while I sat here, talked and drank beer.
Fantastic. We shall see you next week for episode 15 with yet another special guest. Really getting through our special guests recently, Mum. It's fantastic.
Are we going out of the family or sticking with the family?
I'm sticking in the family at the moment.
Good, well done.
It's difficult to go out the family at the moment, isn't it, with getting the audio and stuff sorted.
It is.
Yeah, of course.
But we'll persevere through that when the time comes.
We will persevere through that.
We shall see you all next week. Follow us on our socials at The Art of Trying Podcast. Stay safe.
Stay home, everyone, and stay safe.
Stay home. Wear your mask if you have to go out.
And don't forget your permit if you're going to work.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Perfect. See you next week. Thank you.
Take care.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.